Now, let's discuss resumes for a few minutes. This is one of the biggest boondoggles there is. People have what I call resume-itis. They either spend a lot of money or they spend a lot of time writing what they think is some kind of masterpiece that's 4 or 5 pages long that they think is wonderful, and spend time doing that when they ought to be picking up the phone and saying, I need to interview with you. Resumes are grossly overrated. Now, you need one, and we're going to get into that. But this stuff that some of these people will tell you that what you want to spend, one of my candidates was here. She said she sent a resume to one of the groups, and they called back and said they wanted $700 for her, and there's nothing wrong with her resume. Look, the average resume gets read in 10 seconds. They want to know who'd you work for, how'd you work for them, and what did you do, and that's it. 10 seconds. Everybody that you send your resume to is getting 100 to 200 to 300 resumes. They aren't going to sit down and read every word. And people confuse productivity with activity. They think sitting there pressing that send button on that computer, sending that resume is going to get them an interview, and it's not. Now, here's the most effective resumes, real simple. Reverse chronological order. No more than 2 pages. No objective or career summary. I got one not too long ago where the guy had he had a career summary. He says on there, he was the #1 salesman in the country 10 years ago. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with today. Most of the time, unless you were in a very narrow industry, a very narrow profession, putting a specific summary or objective is not going to do you any good. Get on with it. You need to have clear dates of when you started and ended each job, clear titles that everybody understands. I got one the other day. Guy's title is Regional Sales Director. He's not a director of sales, he's a salesman. So I said, get that off of there, put down regional salesperson if you want to. Because an employer is going to look at that and say, regional sales director, I ain't hiring a director, I'm hiring a salesman, and pitch it. Guy says, well, Tony, that's my title. I don't care. I don't care that's your title. It's not going to get you an interview. So make sure you have titles that everybody understands. Have a clear description of your experience and successes that a high school senior can understand, not your kid, but somebody else's high school senior. They understand. I get resumes all the time. I got one yesterday. I know the guy. I couldn't tell what his company did. Didn't even say what his company did. Just wrote it down like the whole world knows. That isn't going to help you. Write it so that a high school senior can understand it. Remember, stories sell. We'll get into stories in a minute. But numbers tell. If there's any way of getting numbers on your resume, if you're in sales, that's easy to do. If you've saved money for people, people gravitate towards reading numbers, and it really helps. And then, of course, put down your education. Now, here's some of the stuff you don't want on your resume. Personal stuff. Happily divorced. Oh. I got that not too long ago. Happily married. Not that I am, and I'm not opposed to that, but there's no reason for you to stick that in there. Why you left each job. I got one of these yesterday. In parentheses, the guy had next to it. Downsizing, layoff, cut 40% of the sales force. He had 5 reasons of why, and every one of them he was cut. Now, what do you think an employer is going to look at that and say, yep, that's what I'm going to be doing to this old boy 2 years from now? Get it off of there. All galactic, all world. People have this idea that they need to write this phenomenal all galactic, all world resume that makes them out to be the king of the world. No, no, no. References. Don't put references on your resume. If they want references, they can get them. And dumb stuff. My goodness. Now, I've seen it on the resume. Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. Proud member of the Ku Klux Klan. Who would make that up? I got one about a year ago, so help me God, this is the truth. Who'd make this up? County Fair hot dog eating contest winner. Cut it out. Resumes, what you're going to do for them based on what you've done in the past. Have several different kinds of resumes. dumb some of them down. If you have been a controller, be an accountant. If you've been a sales manager, be a salesperson. You need to have, and with a computer you can do that. Make sure you've got some that are dumbed down. And then always, always, always call a hiring authority before you send a resume. We'll get into how you do that in a minute. Now, cover letters, short and to the point. A 3-page cover letter isn't going to get read just like the resume. 10 seconds. Bing, bing, bing. Here's why you ought to interview me because here's what I've done in the past. Short and to the point. Keep records of who you send that resume to and follow up with them every 30 to 45, maybe 60 days. People often don't pay much attention to your resume when they've gotten 100 others. Something goes awry in the interviewing process, and you need to see it again. So you keep a record of who you sent it to, if you get a call back or if you call them, what they said, and follow up with them. One of the biggest mistakes people make is don't follow up every 30 to 45 to 60 days once they get the resume. Now,